Welcome to Bryer CD Showcase. I'm Bryer Cisneros and welcome to episode 5 of my updated CD collection series. So we are continuing from this top shelf to this level here. So again, it gets weird, but we're going to be starting from this part here, moving across. Then we're going to be going up, then we go down to these up here. So again, it's strange, but again, this is what works for me. So before I begin, make sure to leave a like on the video. Comment below what is your favorite album that you saw in this particular episode. So let's get started. So we're still in the ends, by the way. So I'm going to censor this one because I'm not sure how well YouTube approves of this cover sometimes. But first up we have Nevermind by Nirvana. Of course, the big album in the 90s. This is my only Nirvana album. I do plan to get the other two at some point because might as well. They only have 3 albums, and I enjoyed what I've heard bits on each of those two. So the ones I am missing are Bleach and In Utero. So again, I'll probably get them at some point, but not in a huge rush at the moment. But you know, can't deny that this is a good album. Okay, next, probably the last of the ends. Make sure to get it out. There we go. So we're going to Canada now, and we're going to be talking about the Northern Pikes. So Northern Pikes, so I'd say they're a pop rock band from the late 80s. This is probably their biggest album, I think. Big Blue Sky, this one's called. This is actually a 2-disc set. So the first disc is the original album, and then disc 2 is kind of like, I guess, unreleased tracks, I think, and a couple live versions of songs here. So pretty good. I like it a lot. Maybe I'll get more. If to all of my Canadian viewers, let me know what other albums I should get by the Northern Pikes. Okay, so we're done with the ends now. So now we're going to O's, which is not too big. It's only a couple albums here. So we're actually going to some death metal now. Now I don't have pretty much no death metal albums except for this one I'm going to show. So this is a band called Opeth. They're a Swedish band. Of course, Swedish makes sense because death metal comes from Sweden for the most part. So this is a progressive death metal band. So what that means is it's death metal, but they incorporate a lot of progressive elements, you know, progressive metal, a bit of progressive rock. This is actually a concept album here. This one's called Still Life. I'm not going to go too in depth on the story because it does tackle a bit of anti-religious things. It does have that theme, but you know, it doesn't. But you know, if you're not interested in that, then you're probably not going to like this. But you know, it's still pretty interesting. What I like about Opeth, even though I'm not 100% sold on the genre, Opeth does something that's kind of interesting because they still do have those very low growly vocals, but they also mix in a lot of clean vocals, which is actually pretty pleasant to hear. So it actually makes them stand out more, in my opinion. And the music itself is actually quite good. So again, still not going to be for everybody, but I think it's still pretty good. I'll definitely be checking out more of them in the near future. But we're not done with Opeth. Opeth has a kind of weird discography because at some point they sort of changed their sound entirely. So next up we have, make sure that doesn't fall out, we have Sorceress. Now this is when they completely desert the death metal element, and then they kind of just become a kind of a retro progressive rock band. You know, they took all their influences like Pink Floyd and kind of just focus on that sound. So there's no more growly vocals. It's all clean. Still pretty heavy in spots, but overall there's really no death metal at all in here. So if that interests you, if you're not into death metal, then I suggest you check out this late period Opeth. This came out I believe in 2017. So it should be, so I think you will enjoy this one more if you're into more progressive music. I do like the packaging here. For one thing, the album cover is really cool. The back cover is also interesting, and I like the feel of this. It feels very different than most, like, you know, these kind of digipack type packaging. I don't know, hard to describe, but I like it. Okay, so now we're going to some Ozzy Osbourne. I have 3 albums by him. So of course, when you're talking about Ozzy, of course you gotta have his debut, Blizzard of Oz. Classic 80s album here. He really hit out of the park with this one. You got Randy Rhoads on guitar. Killer stuff here. But then, just kind of skipping a few. We're going to the 90s now. I got this used at a thrift store. This one's No More Tears. Pretty solid album. Has the big hit Mama I'm Coming Home on, which I do like. It's actually co-written with Lemmy from Motorhead, actually, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, pretty good. I'd like it. And then finally, by Ozzy, I have his latest one. We have Ordinary Man. Now, I quite enjoyed this album. I know there are some people who don't like this album. You know, it does have a more sad tone to it because it has a lot of songs where Ozzy's kind of singing about, you know, his mortality. You know, he's getting up in age, so definitely has a more somber tone to it. But I do kind of like that. You know, I appreciate Ozzy kind of tackling that sort of theme. So yeah, and I heard he's coming out with a new album sometime this year, which should be interesting. I heard a couple singles. Hasn't gripped me, honestly, but it has Tony Iommi I've heard, so that should be interesting. So yeah, I dig this one. Okay, so now we're heading to P. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one. So again, another pretty modern artist. I have Pink. Yeah, I like a bit of Pink. Again, I don't like her entire catalog, but she has a few songs I actually enjoy. And then there's songs on here I like here. I do like Try. That's probably my favorite song on here. Pink's kind of a weird one to put in alphabetical order because to most people, when people categorize Pink alphabetically, it's usually the first one because this is not technically an I, it's an exclamation point. So that's kind of where I follow, I guess. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if some people do put categories as PI. But you know, that's probably just me. Who knows? It's a weird place. It's one of those confusing ones. You're not sure where to actually put them. Anyhow, this one's pretty cracked. Again, I probably should have replaced the case before recording this, but oh well. I do have one Dolly Parton album. I do like Dolly Parton. She has a lot of great songs. I do like her voice, and this is one of her big albums. Of course, Jolene is the big hit off here. And this also has the song I Will Always Love You, of course, made even bigger with Whitney Houston's cover of it. But I will admit, I actually do prefer Dolly's original version than Whitney's, because you do kind of hear the original emotion behind it. And to me, that's a big thing with me. While Whitney's cover is still pretty great on its own, technically, but it can't really capture the emotion that Dolly put. So yeah, that's for me though. I'm pretty sure there's people who disagree with me. Okay, I put this as a group because it does say has group in the name, but we have Patti Smith Group with Easter. My only Patti Smith album. Very good stuff. I really do. I do enjoy her voice. Her songwriting is also pretty interesting, very poetic. So great stuff. I do want to get more. I heard Horses is another good one of hers, so I'll probably check that out. And I think I'm sure there's other ones, but let me know in the comments. Okay, Tom Petty. I only have one. We have Into the Great Wide Open. So I think I got this used actually. It's actually kind of lucky because I was actually looking for this, but I went to one of my local thrift stores and they happened to have it, which was like, oh, cool. So yeah, this is my only album I have of his, and this is pretty good. I really do enjoy this one. Produced by Jeff Lynne, and now that I read that, it makes the whole production make more sense. Learning to Fly is great. The title tracks is a great song as well. But yeah, top to bottom is a very solid album. So yeah, I'm glad I got this. I do want to get more at some point. Now, Pink Floyd. I have the Division Bell. Now, I do have more Pink Floyd, but I'm going to save that for the last episode, and I'll explain why when we get there. But in terms of Pink Floyd, I have the Division Bell here. This is, again, their second to last album. Of course, to me, I do think this is the true final album of Pink Floyd. I know they have The Endless River, but I consider that kind of like an epilogue album. So it's not really part of the main story. It's kind of like a little bit extra. But I do consider this one the true final album of Pink Floyd, because it has High Hopes as the final track, and that's like a perfect song to end it all. So that's my opinion. Okay, I showed this off recently. We have the Pointer Sisters. This is just the greatest hits. There's 13 songs. I think it pretty much has all the Pointer Sisters I'll need. Alright, the Police are up next, and I already did a video on them. I ranked the catalog, so I'll link that in the description so you can go check that out. But so I'll go through this pretty quickly. Of course, we have Outlandos d'Amour, Regard de Blanc, Zenyatta Mondatta, Ghost of the Machine, and hope that doesn't fall, Synchronicity. 5 albums, but pretty solid stuff. Alright, my only Elvis CD, and that's his Blue Hawaii soundtrack. Of course, it has the song Can't Help Falling in Love, which is a terrific song, one of my favorites by him. And everything else is pretty good. Has a Hawaiian theme to it, which again makes sense knowing the movie. I haven't seen the movie in full, but I kind of have a gist of what goes on in it, so yeah. Okay, Prince. I only have 2. You have 1999. 1999 is very significant because that was the year I was born. So yeah, I listened to that song. I pretty much listened to the song on my birthday at least once, so that's how it goes. Hey, this is so far my favorite Prince album, and I actually listened to this one earlier today, and that's Purple Rain, which is also the soundtrack to the film of the same name, which honestly, you don't need to watch the film. Just listen to the album, you know. I mean, the movie's okay. I did see the movie. It was on TV one time, and I decided to watch it, and it's okay. But you know, it's really meant to just be a promotional piece for this album, so I mean, that's pretty good marketing. But yeah, very great album. Like, there's no bad song on here. Everything is fantastic, and of course the title track is just can be a tearjerker at times. And yeah, lost a real talented individual not that long ago. Okay, so that's all the P's. Now, I know in the beginning I said we were just going across, but we're actually gonna break here for a sec because we're heading into Q's. And I do have some Q's, but I'm gonna be starting here actually. So this is my Queen collection, and the reason why Queen are not actually here, because you know, Queen, if you didn't know, they're my all-time favorite band, and so I kind of put Queen on their own little section because you know, I kind of put them above everything else. But you know, that's just how I do it. So I'm going to talk about this. I originally wanted to just save it for the final episode, but you know, because they are in the standard jewel case, I think, you know, might as well, because everything I'm saving for the final episode is just a lot of different packaging, you know, box sets and all that. So I guess I'll talk about them here. So I'm going to go by these pretty quick. So we have the first album, Queen 1, Queen 2, Your Heart Attack, Night at the Opera, Day at the Races, News of the World, Jazz, The Game, Flash Gordon soundtrack, Hot Space, very controversial one. I don't hate it, by the way. It works. Kind of Magic, The Miracle, Innuendo, Made in Heaven. And then I have this. This is a Freddie Mercury greatest hits. This is actually greatest hits of his solo work. So, looks like this. Pretty interesting. And I know technically this should be an M's, but it has Freddie Mercury, so I kind of put him in the Queen section. So again, that's kind of how I roll. And then I have this one. This is a kind of a collection box set. It has 3 CD sets of all 3 of their greatest hits. So it comes with, so I'll take this out real quick, but it has all of these included. So we have the original greatest hits, which is like, I believe, the biggest selling album in England, I think. And then you have the sequel, and then you have the third. So yeah, I recommend this if you just want to get a good Queen collection. Has a lot of songs in it. So yeah, that is my Queen collection there. So I'm just give me a second while I kind of fix this up again. So while I do this, I do want to announce that I am back in school now. So I started today. So if there are times where if I'm like out for a bit, like I don't upload anything for longer than I usually do, then please note that I'm probably just working on school stuff. And of course I'm still working part-time, so that's also gonna probably affect the upload schedule, but I'll still be uploading when I can. So obviously I'm not gonna be going anywhere. I'm still gonna be making videos on the side as well. So anyhow, let's keep going. So after Queen, we're going to some Queensryche. Now Queensryche is another band I definitely need to get more, because I have 2 so far. So I have The Warning, or yeah, The Warning. I thought it just said Warning for a second, but this is like their first real studio album. They released an EP before, which many people would consider like maybe their debut, I think. But this is kind of their true start, and this is a great album. You know, Jeff Tate, one of the great vocalists of metal. Some fantastic stuff. But of course, when you're talking about Queensryche, you gotta have Operation Mindcrime, a fantastic album. I mean, this is kind of like their magnum opus, a great concept album, and yeah, the sticker says it is a used copy. I got it at a thrift store, but still sounds great. There's no scratch marks on it. Yeah, fantastic one. Obviously, it's one of the greatest metal albums ever. So if you have not listened to this yet, go check it out. It's a fantastic album with some fantastic songwriting, guitar work, vocals, pretty much everything. Okay, then we're done with Q. So now we're heading to R's. Now R's is one of the bigger like sections in this collection. So again, I'm gonna try and see if I can get through this quickly. If not, this might be the longest episode to date so far, but you know, that's how it goes. So we have a couple Rainbow. I have 2. I have Rising, which of course is a fantastic one. Again, one of Ronnie James Dio's best moments here. Fantastic. But then I have one album where he does not sing lead vocals, and that's Down to Earth with Graham Bonnet on vocals. And I must say, this is a very underrated album. I really do love Graham's vocals here. And yes, it does have a bit more of a commercial edge to it, but I still think it sounds fantastic. So yeah, I'd say don't sleep on this one. You might be surprised. You know, some people are just Ronnie James Dio or die. So I can't convince everybody. Okay, Ramones. I have Road to Ruin. This is actually the first one I received. I do have one other Ramones album, but I'll talk about that later. But this one here is a great one. Probably a good starter album, I must say. That and the debut, but more on that later. Okay, Rats. I only have one, and that's their debut, Out of the Cellar. I was pretty surprised because I actually really enjoyed this one. I really do like Stephen Pearcy's vocals, and the guitar work here is also fantastic. So if you like 80s metal and 80s hair metal, then this is definitely a good one. Alright, now we get to an artist it's like love or hate. Some people love him, some people don't like him, mainly because of his vocals. So I'm going to be talking about Lou Reed next, and I actually have quite a bit by him. So this one's my personal favorite, Transformer. Great one. You have David Bowie producing, and the songwriting is just really great. I'd say this is actually one of my favorite albums ever. Probably my top 10, honestly. Then we have Berlin, a concept album. Very depressing one though, so be cautioned if you want to listen to this one. It's a pretty depressing album. Coney Island Baby, another fantastic one. I mean, Lou Reed has a very unique vocal style. It's almost like he's not even trying at all, which I wouldn't be surprised if he's not. But even though his singing style is kind of different, the music itself is what really strangely fits. It's like the music is so catchy and has great melodies. It kind of complements his weird vocals, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I do like this album. Really enjoy this one. The last one I have is New York, one of his 80s albums, which is also very good. So yeah, great stuff. Okay, we go back to some 70s progressive rock with a band called Renaissance. Now I only have two. This one's called Ashes Are Burning, and this is again fantastic album. And what's different about this one, this is like the only progressive rock band that in my collection which has female vocals. Normally progressive rock is dominated with a lot of male vocals, but this one has a female, and her name is Annie Haslam. I hope I said that right. And yeah, she sounds fantastic, very angelic, I must say, so pretty. So really recommend you check this out. Very great stuff. But the one I would suggest you start with for Renaissance is this one right here, and that's Turn of the Cards. It has 6 songs on here, and every song is terrific. And it closes out with the song Mother Russia, which is man, what a great song that is. Just the vocals, and it just has a real grandiose feel. So yeah, really recommend this album here. Okay, I have Reo Speedwagon now. Only 2. If you can't tune a piano, you can tune a fish. Yeah, cheesy jokes aside, I mean, still great hard rock album. This is kind of went just before they would hit it like big time. It had a couple small minor hits. You of course you have Roll the Changes and Time for Me to Fly, which were pretty big hits for them at the time. But of course, they would achieve big time success with this one right here. Another very cracked one, but we have High Infidelity. Of course, this spawned many hits like Don't Let 'Em Go, Keep On Loving You, Follow My Heart. It's a great one. Take It on the Run. Yeah, just another huge album here from the 80s. And I really do enjoy it as myself. Alright, so let me go ahead and check how long we have been recording. So almost 23 minutes, roughly. So again, this might end up being the longest episode so far at this rate, but that should be exciting for me. So next up, Lionel Richie, Can't Slow Down. Great album here. So yeah, I do like Lionel Richie. Great songs. I mean, who doesn't like Lionel Richie? Like, come on. Lionel Richie. And then I have this little greatest hits here. It's a nice one. It's kind of funny. The back cover is just the cover of Can't Slow Down, but here's the front. There's only 11 songs, which is pretty average, and yet the last 3 songs are just Commodore songs, which is also kind of interesting. But oh well. I'll probably get more Lionel Richie albums at some point. Alright, another greatest hits. This is the Righteous Brothers. This is a 2-disc set, and of course I always love greatest hits when there's 2 discs because there's more songs. So yeah, this pretty much has all the songs you would ever want by the Righteous Brothers. So I recommend this one. Again, classic duo here. As with this one, which is another greatest hits where I think this is all I'll need, but we have Leanne Rimes. She's a country artist, and I do like her voice. Of course, probably my favorite song on here is How Do I Live, which is probably her biggest hit, and great song. All right, then we get to the Rolling Stones. Another band I really should get into more. Yep, but I do have a lot of the big ones. I, of course, have Let It Bleed, which is a fantastic album, classic stuff. And then we get to my personal favorite so far, and that's Sticky Fingers. And then we have another one, classic one. We have Exile on Main Street. And then the last one I have is Tattoo You. So yeah, I'm definitely like a late bloomer when it comes to the Stones. I used to just like them, but gradually I can see myself loving them more and more. I just need to get used to them, because I'm very much a Beatles fan for the most part, so I'm still trying to get used to the Rolling Stones' style, but again, I can see them growing over time. Okay, we're still in the R's, but now we get to some Rush. Now again, I already made 2 videos on them not that long ago actually, so go check those out. I did a ranking video and a favorite song each album video, so go again, check those out when you get the chance. So I'm gonna go by these quickly. So of course you get self-titled debut, put that away, and now we finally move up here, moving down. Okay, Fly By Night. I'm gonna put them here for now. I'll put them back later. Crest of Steel. 2112. Farewell to Kings. Hemispheres. Permanent Waves. I don't know why I say Permanent Vacations sometimes. That's an Aerosmith album. But yeah, Permanent Waves. Moving Pictures. Signals. Grace Under Pressure. Power Windows. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and fix this up real quick. At least when I'm doing this, might as well be neat and tidy. Hold Your Fire. Presto. Roll the Bones. Counterparts. Test for Echo. Vapor Trails. Snakes and Arrows. Then finally, Clockwork Angels. And now we are officially done with the R's. So now we're going to be heading to the S's. Okay, first up. This is probably more, I won't say obscure. They have a pretty good following, I think. We have Sanctuary. Refuge Denied. Now this is a pretty great one. This is kind of a more power metal album, and this is I was pretty surprised how much I enjoyed this. So the vocalist here was Warrell Dane. Hope I said that right, but really impressed with his vocals. I really do like his shrieks, like a lot of his screams, very Rob Halford-esque. And what's actually interesting, this is actually produced by Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. So I think this is pretty good. I definitely will check out more. Let me know if there's any other good ones. Then my only Santana one, Supernatural. I heard this is kind of a mixed one. This was pretty big for him. It had the big hit Smooth with Rob Thomas. And, you know, some people like it, some people don't. Of course, my mom's a big fan of Santana, so she doesn't mind. But, you know, I'll definitely check out the early stuff at some point. I have them on my wish list, so maybe at some point I'll get a hold of those. Okay, and then we're heading to the final pile here before we call it. So, another very great album. We have Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage. Very great album. I know this is probably one of their big albums. Some people say this is their best one. And yeah, this is pretty great stuff. Like, the vocals are fantastic. Music is great. I know there's some. I know the lead singer. Is the lead singer alive? Can't remember. But I'm sure they have some classic stuff. So again, comment below what should I get next? Because again, this is a band I definitely want to get into more. Scorpions up next. We have Virgin Killer. Okay, great album, bad album cover. Of course, the original album cover is even worse. I'm not going to go into it. Taken by Force up next. Another great one. Then finally is Love It for Sting. Their most commercially successful album. I dig it quite a bit. Then we have some punk. We have Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols by the Sex Pistols. Another classic, like, I guess late 70s album by one of the big names in punk rock. Great album. Fantastic stuff. Paul Simon. I have Graceland. Great one. Of course, he's incorporating a lot of African influence here, which sounds really great. Sounds really nice. So yeah, really dig this one. Then we have the follow-up, The Rhythm of the Saints. I talked about this one recently in one of my CD hauls. Didn't know what to expect. I kind of thought it was going to be like a weak version of Graceland, but I was pretty surprised. This actually has a lot of great songs on here. I still think Graceland is way better, but I think this is a worthy follow-up to that album. So great one. Now, sticking with Simon, we're going to Simon and Garfunkel. To my only one, we have Bridge Over Troubled Water, which was their final album, and this was a great one to go out in. A lot of classic songs, of course, the title track, El Cordo Pasa, The Boxer, of course. What else? Keep the Customer Satisfied, Baby Driver. Yeah, another classic one. Fantastic. Definitely will. Another band, or duo, I should say. I'll probably try to get all their albums because they don't have many. I think they only had 5 or 6. So this shouldn't be that hard to get. Of course, we're complete departure from Simon and Garfunkel. We're going back to some thrash metal. We have Slayer, Rain and Blood. Classic thrash metal album. I mean, when you think of thrash, this is one album people think of. And boy, does it really fit that description. It really earned that parental advisory sticker. It's very hardcore. Again, if you're not into metal, then you're definitely not going to like this one. But to me, it's a great one. Definitely one worth having. And then to close us out for part 5, we got Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins. This is the first one I got. I heard a lot by the Smashing Pumpkins, but I never really had any reason to. But gradually more people. I heard many people talk about them, and I said, why not? And so I went to Amazon, and from what I've gathered, this is probably their most beloved album, I guess. And of course, this is very much a grower one for me. I do enjoy this one. I probably need to listen to it more because I definitely see myself actually liking it more. But I'm very impressed with this one. Billy Corgan's vocals, they're definitely very different, very unique, but they kind of do fit the sound they're going for. And of course, this album, they were kind of doing a lot of different stuff, a lot of experimentation here, which I really do appreciate. It's a long album though, so definitely an album that's kind of hard to sit through, but there's still some fantastic songs here that I can't deny. So yeah, really happy I got this one. Definitely will get more. And that is it. So let me just check how long this is now. Oh, 35 minutes. So I think this might be the last one. This might be not the last, but the longest one. So yeah, hopefully you stuck around the whole video. I think there's 2 more episodes planned. There's this bottom portion here, and then we have the other stuff I haven't talked about yet. So yeah, about 2 more episodes to go. So hopefully you'll look forward to those. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please go give this video a like, comment below what was your favorite album that you saw here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.